Okay. I just got home from a signing appointment and I'm so mad at what I saw and I feel so annoyed and helpless about it. I mean, because there's really fundamentally nothing I can do about this situation right now, short of trying to help you not make that same mistake. So here's the situation. I had an appointment for a VA refinance with a couple that was in their mid to move into late 70s. And um, they, one, the lady was disabled, which fine, okay. That doesn't mean anything necessarily other than the fact that the house that they were in was not very well suited to somebody with the disabilities that she currently has. And they had been in this house for, it was almost 30 years at this point. And this was he couldn't even count how many times they had refinanced it, but he said that he had paid this house off twice in those 30 years. And at this point, he was doing a full refinance, but without getting cash back out of it. He wasn't pulling equity out. He was just exchanging one lender for another lender for a minimally slightly lower interest rate. But it was costing him closing costs, several $1,000s of closing costs. So this wasn't a cash out. He wasn't paying off any debts and he wasn't pocketing any money. As a matter of fact, he had to write me a small under $100 check today to include with his closing documents. So he was under the impression that I was going to be showing up with a check for $900, which would have been funds from his previous escrow account. That's due to him from his previous lender, presuming that they're not technically one and the same. I'm not really sure. And yes, he should be due that money, but he's not due that money at closing. And your notary will never show up 99.99% of the time. Will never show up with a check because that's not our role in this. But or your closing agent or whoever it is. So here's the thing though that really just makes me so mad. In your closing package, look for, or if your lender doesn't have one, you should be able to get a tangible net benefits disclosure. It says this is the reason, the whole reason that you're refinancing. And it's supposed to show that there's a benefit to you as the borrower that goes beyond a lender getting paid, or not even the lender being the bank, but your mortgage loan officer. And I have no beef with mortgage loan officers. I take exception when it looks like, it feels like, and it smells like somebody is being taken advantage of. And here's a situation with this particular couple. When you look at their benefits disclosure, it compares their old loan to their new loan, and it shows, like I said, a very minimal rate reduction. It was going to reduce their monthly expenses, principal and interest wise, $117 per month. Well, it just cost this guy out of pocket a little less than $100 to make all of this happen. And I can't say what he may or may not have already had to pay out of pocket that I didn't look for. But it was going to take them 58 and a half months to recover the cost of their refinance. The cost of their closing costs was not going to realize a benefit to them, a net benefit, in under 58 and a half months. So yes, $117 a month less in payment, but almost 5 years of payment, full payments, $1,200, $1,300, whatever his payment was, before it balances out and he starts actually realizing the benefit of doing this. Again, he's in his late 70s. 5 years for him may or may not happen. 5 years for his wife, given her health issues, definitely may or may not happen. But this is another case too where she sat there. She didn't have a clue what she was signing. She hadn't looked really at anything. When I tried to, put documents in front of her, she needed to sign everything, but tried to give, the overview that I can give. She didn't care. She looked at him. Is everything fine? Sign, 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 to the best of her ability. So, but she was signing stuff and she had not a clue in the world what it was. But in part of those documents, we found out that not we found out, but I got to see that the compensation for the broker was almost $5,000. So of their $6,500 in closing costs or whatever it is, broker compensation was almost $5,000 of that. So he actually increased his borrowed amount by $6,500, some maybe just slightly under $7,000, something like that. Starting a new escrow and all of those kind of things were all rolled up into that. But of that, $5,000 almost was his broker getting paid. So his broker was getting paid up front for stuff that it was going to take him 5 years to pay off before he saw any benefit. If people don't see a problem with this, I don't even know what to say. It's immoral, it's unethical. Unfortunately, it's not illegal. But what I really, really hope can happen is that by talking to you, you can look at this for yourself, certainly, and look at your own situation. And if you're refinancing a house, you need to be able to look at it and say, is this in my best interest or is this in the bank's best interest or something like that? There are certainly reasons to refinance. There are certainly reasons to pull equity out of your house. It needs to be done from a position of being educated, where there is an overall big picture benefit to you that is not just putting money in the pocket of a mortgage broker or loan originator or whatever name the company might want to utilize for them. So the other piece of that, though, is if you have parents that are still around, you need to be actively involved to the best of your ability, talking through some of these things with them, because it happens way too often that somebody gets somebody on the phone and makes a good argument for what they want them to do. Does it benefit you to do this? Well, sure, we're going to save you money. We're going to save you money every month. Okay, yes, but it's going to take you 5 years to realize that as an overall big picture savings. Were they so tight on their budget that $117 a month mattered? Maybe. And if that's the case, then maybe there's some piece of this that marginally makes some amount of sense. If not, then this was people being taken advantage of, in my opinion. And I would hope that we look out for our family members, for our, parents and our grandparents, to make sure that somebody's not talking them into something that really, truly does not benefit them the way that it's verbalized to them. People are really great at making arguments to pad their own pockets. And quite frankly, I'm sick of it. I'm sick and tired of watching people being taken advantage of. And as I said, in my role, as long as they were competent, coherent, and understood what they were signing, that doesn't mean that they have to understand all of the legalities of the language and the financial picture. They have to be willing to sign and understand that they are refinancing a loan. Fundamentally, that's the bar that they have to pass in order to have, everything go fine with the signing. Now, does that mean that they're not being taken advantage of? Absolutely not. Does it mean that they haven't been talked into something that isn't a great deal for them? Absolutely not. So please read your documents, look at them in advance. Does it just smell wrong? What's the overall cost of doing something? And please, if you don't understand something, ask somebody. Ask for another opinion about it. Heck, at this point, you can ask Google, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity. I don't care which AI you pick. Plug some numbers in and ask, because it has no skin in that game. It's not getting paid more or less because of the choice that it spits out. So you can get some clarity on things that are already confusing by asking for some help in understanding those numbers. If you need some help understanding a little bit, talk to a different lender. Do a comparison shop essentially, and don't just take the first person who calls you up and has a nice slick presentation that's smoother than smooth. And I don't know, if it doesn't cause you to go, let me think on this, it feels like it sounds too good to be true. It just very well might be. And I want you to look out for yourselves and look out for your families. Be careful out there, people, because if you aren't looking out for yourselves and your people, who else is going to do it? All right. So that's my rant for the day. I'm still so freaking mad about this. I can't even see straight. But here we are. I wish you all well. Remember, again, like I've always said, you have more control than you think. So you've got this. You're going to make good decisions, right?